This special episode is a very exciting new addition to Human Thesaurus. This time around, I am twisting the conversation the other way. We will deep dive into a word or words that we humans relate to in our lives as much as we like it or not. This is a remarkable elemental experiment to offer you a wider variety of my podcast and what I wanted to get out of it just for you. Before we begin, I asked ChatGPT to write me a podcast intro. I followed its input down to its music suggestion. Here's the result. Are you ready to embark on a remarkable journey through the depths of the human experience? Welcome to Human Thesaurus, where I, Wish Rongio Peacock, your host and guide, take you on an extraordinary adventure. In each episode, I'll share captivating stories, personal insights, and thought-provoking perspectives. We'll deep dive into the profound moments that shape who we are, explore relatable rants that make us feel alive, and uncover the intelligent opinions and fascinating facts from a multitude of industries. Human Thesaurus is a celebration of the incredible diversity within each of us. Just like words with multiple meanings, we all possess unique views and personalities that make us who we are. So, join me. Sit down, relax, and let's indulge into the joy of eavesdropping on conversations that spark inspiration and ignite curiosity. Through this podcast, we'll expand our horizons, deepen our empathy, and celebrate the beauty of our shared humanity. Don't miss out on this extraordinary podcast experience. Tune in to Human Thesaurus now and embark on a journey of discovery, laughter, and connection. I'm Wish, your companion on this adventure through Human Thesaurus, where every word brings us closer to understanding ourselves and others. Welcome to Human Thesaurus Epitome Anatomy. This time, we tackle a word or several keywords that affect our lives to shape, distort, attract, dispel, and meditate among other facets of human emotions and observations. In this episode, our keyword is artificial intelligence. It is a noun meaning the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks usually requiring human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages, referenced in the Oxford Dictionary. On August 31st, 1955, the term artificial intelligence was coined in a proposal for a 2-month, 10-man study of artificial intelligence submitted by brilliant American scientists John McCarthy from Dartmouth College, Marvin Minsky from Harvard University, Nathaniel Rochester from IBM, and mathematician Claude Shannon from Bell Telephone Laboratories. The workshop, which took place a year later in July and August of 1956, is generally considered as the official birth date of the new field. I reference this via Forbes.com article, A Very Short History of Artificial Intelligence by senior contributor Gil Press. I will have a casual yet satisfying conversation about AI perspectives while taking it to practical, layperson's terms with my returning guest from the last season, our whiz kid, the human AI, Ray Chang. Also joining us is my guy BFF, Jeroen Baron from Arnhem, the Netherlands. I miss him very much, who is a full-time teacher at, I don't know if my Dutch is still good, but I will try, at Hogeschool van Arnhem and Nijmegen, HAN University of Applied Sciences. Did I do it right, Jeroen?
Yes, you did.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, my Dutch is still okay.
Luckily, the new name is the University of Applied Sciences, Han University of Applied Sciences. So it's more international than hogeschool. It's more difficult to pronounce.
Hogeschool, yeah.
Hogeschool, yes.
I love Dutch though, but I haven't been practicing because I haven't been talking to you in a long time.
It's
but
not
anyway,
good for your throat.
I still love it. Anyway, we will lay them out based on their career and life experiences, and note that this will focus on practical everyday people application of AI or AI understanding. This is my first multi-guest on this podcast, and I am adrenalized to do this. Just a disclaimer, this episode represents individual experiences and personal views. If you find our conversation sensitive or opposed to your thoughts, please remember that we are all uniquely ourselves. Nothing is intended to personally attack or cancel anyone by expressing their own opinions on matters of life. So stay in your own lane. We'll stay in our lanes. I want to give you short intros about my guests. My synonyms for Ray in connection for our keyword for today, artificial intelligence, are robot as a noun, computing as a verb, and responsive as an adjective. As for Jeroen, my synonyms for him about our keyword for today, artificial intelligence, are neuron as a noun, evaluating as a verb, and adventurous as an adjective. So let's welcome Jeroen and Ray.
Hey, my name is Jeroen. The keywords in the artificial intelligence relates to me to the words misunderstood, evolutionary, and critical thinking for me.
Hello, friends. My name is Ray. The keywords artificial intelligence relate to the words tool, progress, and adoption for me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for both of you. We're in 3 different time zones, and I'm glad it worked out. So thank you for that, first of all. And now I invited different kind of, I think, perspectives when it comes to AI. There are so many things. It's so funny because I think it's so in for us for a long time ago, for us, for the 3 of us, but most normal everyday people won't. I mean, it's hovering around, but not everybody's as aware as now because of the likes of ChatGPT coming out a few months ago, end of last year. I think that kind of blew up about chatbots, which was funny to me personally, because I was just like, oh, chatbots is just in right now. It's been around us for quite some time. So my first question to open this conversation up is, how would you explain AI to normal everyday people in a non-technical kind of explanation?
You want to give that a go, Ray, or?
So, look, in my mind, it's another tool in the toolbox, right? It's the way I would explain it is it's something that you can use to produce an effect. The tool is very powerful when used correctly, but equally, it can be something that can often fail on you without you sort of realizing. So it's still a trade-off and a balancing act that you need to perform carefully when you're using a tool like this.
It's interesting because that's exactly why it related to me to the keyword critical thinking. Like it's even more important to whatever the AI gives you as information, that to look at it critical. Like, is this true? Because more than using a search machine or books, people might more easily believe the thing that an AI comes up with.
Right.
But it is a tool you need to know how to use. So,
I think I can add to that. Mm-hmm. So I guess one of the problems we've seen with ChatGPT specifically is that it's confidently incorrect.
Yes.
And it can produce what people call hallucinations, where it's confident that certain things exist or certain things behave the way that it thinks it exists, but it simply doesn't. And this is a problem with, I guess, generative AI in some ways, where it's just pulling things out of thin air and just going with it. And for anyone wielding these kinds of tools, you need to be aware of it. But once you're aware and you rationalize and you check what it's doing, it can be an immensely powerful tool.
For sure. Yeah. We've seen a lot of students using ChatGPT to come up with answers to questions, or like in the IT department, a lot of students use it to come up with code for anything, actually.
I find that it's a good use by the students, to be frank, but I think it's probably an opportunity for maybe teachers to reframe how that sort of works as well, right? Like, people are using it because it's a useful tool, but they may not be challenging what they're being presented with from the AI. So exactly. If you had the opportunity to sort of reframe it as a challenge instead. So here is a bunch of stuff that I use ChatGPT to produce. Tell me what's wrong with it.
Yep.
That provides a lot of variance in how students need to tackle some of these problems. They might try and plug it back into ChatGPT, but ChatGPT won't be able to solve its own kinds of problems when there's obvious flaws in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So how would you kind of frame that in terms of teaching everyday human beings or young minds?
Especially for young minds these days, when it comes to all the information, be critically about what you hear. If it's the truth, if there's another side to it, or if someone might have a different view on things, like an AI does what it does quite well. But we've seen before that if you feed it information from trolls in the internet, that it will very quickly become a troll itself.
Yeah.
Like it has no idea of good or bad, and it's very confident. It's not like humans where we sort of might have some retrospection about our information. I think, might be wrong. It's just very confident about it is the absolute truth, what it knows. Be aware of that. So you should always check the source. Like, okay, is it something that's the critical thinking part for me. Is like, is it something that I can check? You could see for yourself that it's the truth. So,
right. So I think the key word that I'm picking up here is truth. So truth in AI. What's the train of thought here when it comes to guardrailing? Because I think I always, this is always like when Ray and I had projects together, I always am concerned about those guardrails. Like, how are we? Okay. How are you, like, people in tech right now? How confident are we that we're keeping up with all the guardrails to protect people from fearing AI?
Okay, there's something in ChatGPT 4 that is better than in the previous version. It has a chain of thought. So normally when you prompt something, ChatGPT, and you say, okay, I give someone 5 apples, someone else takes 4 apples, how many apples are left? It gives you an answer. Like, okay, you've got 4 or 5 left. But in the chain of thought method, it sort of explains how it got to that actual number. So it would say like, okay, so now he has that many apples and this guy has that many apples. So he is left with, so it's more like, I think that's something with computers that if you do not know where the answer is coming from, you cannot really trust it. So it should have some chain of thought, like I use this information to get to this conclusion, because that sort of sets the answer in the right light, or in the
right framework. Yeah.
In the right framework. Exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting because people have been working on what I'll probably call computational intelligence for a long time. It's that logical thinking and framework and ability to structure, logical arguments. Like Wolfram Alpha, for example, has been doing that for decades now, and the collaboration there is really giving it a whole lot more power. When hunting for truth, what it really comes back to is the human ability to sort of do that critical thinking, right?
Right.
I think, if anything, it should make people sort of start questioning all the sources, like they should already, because, you turn on the TV or you look online, you don't just believe everything you read. You should be, parsing that carefully and, looking through the content and sort of understanding that. For people still building their education, that's an important skill to pick up. And given the rise of these kinds of technologies, it's just more important that they pick them up sooner.
Right. But there are lots of misinformation, and people seem to be gullible what they hear or posted on Twitter or Truth Social and all of these things, right? It's just, yes, it's still the human factor. That's what I keep on explaining on about this. It's always the human factor that still is the most reliable in how we're gonna safeguard the use and the further development of AI in our lives, and how are we going to embed them? Because at the end of the day, whatever we're feeding the machine, it's the results that's coming out of it is coming from us, not just from the machine that's learning all of these things.
You could sort of like see it like, well, this might be a weird, but you could see it like a dog. A dog has no sense of good or bad. If you teach him it's good to bite someone and you reward it for it, then yeah, it will think it's good to bite another dog or a human. If you reward it for being kind or helping people, yeah, it will do that. So it's not really a good comparison. But if you tell the AI it's good to discriminate, yeah, sure, it will. Yeah. It doesn't have any sense of what's good or bad.
We teach it what's good and bad.
So if the wrong people teach it, it will have, it will tell you with like it's an absolute truth. It will tell you wrong information.
I'm going to throw out a bit of an interesting one there. And I would actually say that humans aren't actually special in any way. We have exactly the same problem with people when they're raised in particular ways. You know, if you teach them that doing bad things reward them in some way, that's positive reinforcement in that direction. It's no different. And I would even say that like, we may not be all that special in terms of how we do that processing and thinking eventually, right? Like we haven't been able to replicate it yet, but in some ways it could be a matter of time. So I wouldn't even say that it's unique to AI. It's just that in the systems and cultures and, you know, the way that we are brought up, that a lot of that is stripped away because society itself reinforces those values.
Yes. Yep. But are we, in terms of all of these, right? Is the world keeping up? Other industries are keeping up with the advancement of the technology in terms of ethics, in terms of legal implications. Are we keeping up really? Because I've been reading about this a lot. This is my passion, just like keeping watch at this advancement. But where are we when it comes to that? How confident are both of you in your observation?
Well, we're not really keeping up with the ethics. I mean, when I was younger, there was no things as smartphones or cameras. I mean, I could do stupid thing and it would just, a few people saw it and would remember. But nowadays, everything is recorded, put on the internet, and it will be there the rest of your life. I mean, it's ethically, it's not okay to be confronted with stupid mistakes you make as a kid or as
I agree.
So, I mean, I don't think we're really keeping up.
I would say that, you know, one way or another, society and life is moving faster and faster just because everything's becoming more interconnected. It might be true that we are not keeping up at all, but at the same time, we've got no choice. The cat's out of the bag with these technologies. It's actually more of a matter of, well, if here is some technological progress, the rest of the world will have to catch up and adopt and work out how to deal with it, even if it means coming up with creative solutions or taking things away so that you can go back to basics on how you teach people or whatever else it is. A lot of the ethical challenges lie in how some of these models are trained. So, you know, all the data that you can get your hands on, whether they really had the permission or not, is a big open question.
Yes.
But at the same time, even if someone went and tried to stop that from happening, cat's out of the bag. We know it's possible now. So it really is a matter of the world catching up and going back to Wish's point about guardrails, putting in whatever guardrails we feel is most appropriate, but then still progressing so that we can work towards, you know, one of those bigger, brighter futures where people can do less work and have more time to themselves.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Would be nice.
It would be nice. That's right. So in line with picking this one up. So I was just reading about these powerful tech guys having an open letter to pause giant AI development for us to catch up with testing and in making sure that, again, like guardrails are in place. Are both of you agreeing to this? Because I still have a
Not at all.
mixed thought about this, because I was
at
like,
all.
how would that be possible? But how would these powerful people saying it? Like, can you give me your thoughts about this so far?
You shouldn't stop this at all. I mean, it's not really, it's not that scary. I mean, what we see at the moment, it's not really, it's what they call like small AI. It's narrow AI. That's
narrow,
the term they're using. It's really like they're showing this AI, they're feeding it data of dogs. And then after a certain amount, like a million photos, this AI understands this is what the dogs look like. I mean, it's the same as for us humans. We see a dog and we think, okay, that looks like a dog. This is probably a dog. If I see a chihuahua, I might even be thinking that might be a big rat. So there is going to be some confusion. But the AI show it a picture of a wolf and it will say it's a dog. So it's really still quite narrow the way we're using it. And then you have like the AI would get, well, we should, at the moment, it's just at that phase. It's not really that it's exciting, but it's not really, it's not self-aware yet. It's not self-aware yet. I mean, if you would think about super AI, like maybe we have that in 2050, I don't know. It could be going quickly. You will have an AI like you see in movies, like in the movie Her or Space Odyssey, like those kind of AIs that are able to make decisions on their own based on what is happening real time instead of happening based on what they have learned.
Right. Ray?
I find the whole concept of some kind of open letter pleading for people to suddenly pause development to be completely ridiculous and a bit of a joke. Because no matter how much they plead, people are going to plow on with whatever else they can come up with. And lives are going to continue because, well, lives depend on it.
And it's
their livelihoods and its opportunity. Why would anyone in their right mind and somehow justify, what was it, a 6-month pause?
Yes.
If anything, it gives opportunity for, well, it doesn't give any opportunity whatsoever, really. No one's really going to pause. So I think the noise around that one really is just people trying to drum up media. More than anything else, really. It's just making noise.
It's not just making noise. I think I'm quite cynical about this. Ray has seen me being a sweet to being cynical when it comes to these things around us. I think they wanted to pause it because there are some organizations who wanted to keep up with OpenAI, what they're doing, because some of them are failing miserably at the moment. So I think it's for not just marketing or media reasons or exposure reasons. I think it's really more for their own gain. I mean, this is my cynicism about this. That's why I can't fully react. It's like, why do you want to pause technology? Why do you want to pause it? I mean, haven't you seen it before? Because, we've been moving so fast. It's like, it's quite disappointing to me, actually, that they did this. And these bigger companies, like, I'm not an Elon fan, but all of these guys are wanting to pause this. I was like, you should be ahead. And now you're disappointing me. You're kind of telling me that you're not thinking ahead, you're not ahead, and you're the most powerful people in this world. Am I being harsh?
No. I mean, the thing is that we've been in technology for a while, so we know this is not really something new. I mean, I bought the game 20Q. I don't know. Do you know the game 20 Questions?
Yes,
I bought like this small little box, runs on a few batteries, and it was invented by Robin Bergener in 1988. So that was the first artificial intelligence. Like you can for the people that don't know it, it's like put something in your mind. You think of a object or an animal, and the computer will ask you a series of questions, and you can the statement is it will guess what you're thinking of in 20 questions, and it works fairly good actually. So you answer like yes, no, and it will ask you questions like, is it bigger than an elephant? Is it a human? Is it and it comes up with this through this network, like it's in what they call the neural network, like through this network of how do you end up at a certain answer. It asks you these questions, and usually it's correct. I mean, I've been asking it. I have thought of really strange things, like a bicycle tire. How do you call it? Ventieldopje. Well, like
pressure.
Yeah, it's like the gauge, where you put in the air.
Yeah. So it's the tire pressure.
Yeah, is that the English word? Yeah, fair. We call it the fietsventieldopje. Well, anyways, it guesses it in 20 questions. So that's it's nothing. It's nothing that's special or new. It's just that because it's in the media, and I think even the latter is because a lot of people see the possibilities. Like you can. With generative AI, you can think of a company name, and you can let it create a logo, and you can say like, okay, what are the best?
Bye Fiverr.
Exactly, but you can ask it questions like, what are the best companies in the world doing to make money? It will come up with an answer based on the information it has. So it's a way for a lot of people to make money or start their own company, or sort of like it's bringing power back from the big companies to the normal people. So I think that's also one of the reasons why they want to put a hold on it, because it's a lot of information and data for the normal people to use.
Yeah, but pausing it is not about us everyday people. They wanted to pause it for their. By the way, just a segue, because earlier I was using ChatGPT a little bit, and I asked, explain why we need to pause the development of giant AI. So there are like 5 that it explained, like safety concerns, ethical concerns, accountability, bias, lack of understanding, and then overall pausing the development of giant AI would give us the opportunity to address these concerns and develop AI systems that are safe, ethical, accountable, and biased, and beneficial to society. And I was just like, okay, no, you don't need to pause it, because you should be working on this while the big techs are working on this. Big and small techs are working on this. You have to work alongside this. So it's like, why are you pausing it? It's like, it's your fault to begin with. It's like, because you didn't, it's like, especially like, if you pause this, then there are implications, especially to the smaller companies whose lives are dependent on investments, investments and funding. If you pause this, it's like you're going to affect those small people. It's just oh, now my opinion's coming out.
Well,
Ray,
I mean,
anything to add?
I would probably add that the practicalities of implementing such a ban are just simply unfeasible. You wouldn't be able to stop it even if you tried. So in that case, it simply won't happen. What is good and probably, I guess, positive is that now that we know it's possible, there's a lot of open source effort towards implementing these things out in the open instead of owned by a large capitalist company.
Yes.
So that's really promising as that sort of comes along. And I mean, ultimately what people should be looking at is, well, how do these tools help me do better and or be more efficient? And how can we adopt these things into our ways of working so that, we can focus on the meaningful stuff that we actually need to do and deliver?
That's right. That's right. But also coming back, like, what's the difference between, just to make it clear, what is giant AI versus generative AI versus responsible AI? Like, why? Everybody would just hear this, but what are the differences? Like, the easiest way to explain them. What are they?
Right. But generative AI is everything that is generating something like text or images, or you even see that you can feed AI a movie and a photo, and it will generate you in the movie. So that's more and general AI it's bigger than or it has more reach than the narrow AI. What we talked about, the narrow AI is specifically for a set of tasks. And general AI it's not for a specific set of tasks. So it's more a chatbot or, well, it's also kind of narrow.
General is pretty much like different sets of data.
Skills and data. Yeah,
scalable.
Exactly.
Like you can teach it more and more.
Yeah. So, well, it's more that the narrow AI is more the sample of the dog and the wolf, and the general AI would know all the animals. And
there you go.
So, yeah.
I like that explanation. Yeah.
I
and
suppose
what's giant? Why is it
tidbit.
Giant AI?
Right.
Why that term?
Data.
So it is about the amount of data that needs to be processed to train and run these models. So, for example, for ChatGPT, these are what they refer to as large language models. It's actually not entirely feasible for, I guess, an individual the average individual to, build a sufficiently large machine and actually run this at home because of the amount of resources that it usually consumes. It just is quite expensive as a process. So, unfortunately, because of the computation requirements, it makes it the kind of thing that only big corporations can get access to. But slowly and surely, we're whittling away at this so that in time, maybe we can run these kinds of things at home, which will put it into the hands of the individual. And that'll be interesting times, right? Like hypothetically, you could have a personalized ChatGPT that has access to all of your things in your control. So it has your emails, you can compose emails using this tool, and it can help you do some of this, but you're still in control, not someone else.
Google has been doing that already. Google is in charge of my life mostly.
Yeah, but it doesn't really, it doesn't not feel like it, or it's more like it's still an assistant.
True, but that's the brilliant thing about it, right? Because it's assistant. Again, it's all about semantics, right?
Yeah.
But I know that it's taking over my life. I mean, it has taken over my life, and I let it actually because we know how it works on the inside.
It's convenient, yeah.
Yeah.
But these big. That's what.
It's semantics.
That's what a lot of people, I think, are scared of. That like these big tech companies, they get to know too much information about us, but. Well, yeah, if they technically they could know where you are, with whom you are, they could record every conversation, what you eat, what you do, but it's not really that interested, and it's interesting for those companies, and it's too much data to do it for all the people in the world. I mean, yeah.
Yes. So that's why I think we have to go towards the fear, right? So for me, I know that Google took over my life, but it was a conscious decision from myself. I put my own guardrails. My passwords are so fucking long and so different from each other. I really went to a journey on doing that, but I put my own security, so many guardrails for myself. So I consciously made a decision that yes, a part of my life could be taken over by Google because it's easier. So I'm still taking charge as a human being on doing that. But when it comes to this fear, my question here, which is very interesting for me to hear from you, is like, what's the real logical thing that we have to validly fear about AI?
Well, I think the biggest fear at the moment, I have you seen that was 2 months ago that all these artists on social media went wild on AI. Like, okay, AI has a learning model where it's getting all the data from the internet, but it's getting like my images and my styles or my music, and they're feeding it that data. And you can literally say like, I want an image in the style of artist. Like I want a painting in the style of Van Gogh. Well, he's dead, so he probably doesn't matter. But it's for those kind of AI, it could kill creativity. Like why if I'm a company and I'm not creative and I need something creative, I could pay an artist and I could say, well, there's some generative AI, design my logo in the style of that artist. Well, that would be nasty.
That is nasty. I'm kind of offended by that one.
So that's why if you feed it data, and I know one of the AI says we're only feeding it our own data or own data sets. But if you use data freely available in the internet, which are usually showcases of artists, you should pay them for feeding that information into the machine. And if you sell anything or create anything using that data, they should get a fee for it.
They should, they should get royalty from it.
Exactly. So that's one thing I think if you're not an artist, you shouldn't have to fear this. But if you're an artist, that's something you should fear at the moment.
Right. Ray, how about you?
I think simultaneously, I mean, fear is one thing because some people don't understand it or can't leverage it as a tool or it's taking away how people are currently making a living. And that's a point of concern.
Yep.
Yes.
Equally, when used as a tool, it can help you be more creative because it can incorporate other things, other ideas. Think like generative music, for example. Have you thought about these kinds of instruments paired with something else that might not be viable unless you had these tools in your reach? I think what people are experiencing is a challenge. It's a challenge to how they currently do things or the way that they operate. And that's scary, right? Because when people are comfortable, they like doing what they're currently doing. But when something like this disruptive comes along, it challenges them on, well, how are you going to make this happen now? Or what are you going to have to do different? And that's something that people have to overcome. I think that's where the fear comes from. Yes. I agree that ethically, like sucking up everything on the internet and using that as training data is a bit dubious. But at the same time, as we were saying earlier, cat's out of the bag. People have done it now. So
yeah, true. It's already.
You can try and reconcile that, or you have to try and work that out, right?
Yeah, you have to unlearn it.
Not necessarily unlearn, right? Like further development. Okay, so we've got this extreme and we're stealing. It's now the mass opinion is like you're stealing from artists. I kind of felt affected by this because my book's cover artist, her work has been regenerated differently and she's not credited, and she really felt so bad for it. And she really, really emotionally felt bad for it, and I felt bad for her. So I think it's really more of furthering how, okay, now we went overboard. How are we gonna make it fair? How are we gonna fix it? But how ethical are these developers developing it? That's the question. But I think these artists should make them accountable as well, as a whole, as a society. So I think there are more than enough outspoken people out there who could make these companies accountable for what they're doing. But like what you're saying, right? Cat's out of the bag. So I think the next step for all of us as human beings, not just the techies, is to really just make these companies accountable and give them feedback, right? Because how are they going to know? I mean, sometimes power could cloud your judgment, or you've been developing it and you don't know anymore. Like, where's the limit, right? So other people, like, if cat's out of the bag, then you can't really put it back in the bag. But just like hone this, feed the cat, pet the cat, cuddle the cat to make it a good cat, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my gosh, that's cute.
Yeah, because you don't like cats. That's cute. Yeah.
I freaking love cats.
I know. It's a good reference.
No, I think that's right? Like it's a matter of reconciliation and saying, okay, well, we did this, my bad, but then what can we do to sort of give credit where it's due and everything else is a big open question that needs to be tackled sooner or later. But yeah, otherwise they'll just get away with it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and it's really difficult. I mean, have you tried the moral machine?
What's the moral machine?
It's an experiment where it's a website where they ask you questions for, you see it's an artificial intelligence for self-driving cars. And it has to make,
check that out.
Because you have to make decisions. Like there's a car driving and you see a street on one side, the car has to avoid some people walking on the road. And then you get like these questions. Okay, it's a self-driving car. So there's a dog in the car and there is 2 children walking on the road. But if the car sways, it will crash and the people in the car will die, or anything in the car will die. So you have to make these decisions. Okay, 2 children, 1 dog. What would you do? And it's a whole list of questions. And the demographic of the results were actually very, very awesome. That especially in the Asian cultures or Middle East, people would choose for the older people to survive. Like there's 2 children in a car and 1 in an elderly person on the road. It would sway, kill the children in the car. In European countries and American countries, they would choose to save the children. So in that part, they say like, okay, you would say if you have a self-driving car, it should have some other morals in one country or in another or part of the world actually, or another part of the world. So morals are not the same all over the world. So everyone has different morals.
Wow.
So how are you going to teach the AI what is moral for everything? I think we could easily say, well, don't kill, don't steal, some biblical notes, but further than that, it's going to be hard.
There's a cultural aspect. So this is another level, right? So there's emotional, there's cultural, this is very interesting. Oh, you're giving me more things to think about. Ray,
sorry,
anything to add there?
You had enough.
I in my mind, absolutely. There's a lot of layers to it, and we're just, at the surface of what this could do in the future.
Yeah.
Time will tell on where all of this goes, but ultimately, these are powerful tools. So people will need to work out how to wield them properly. And that includes dealing with these challenges, even if it's on an individual by individual basis. So it's something that's tailored to you. But that's probably a little while away.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, before guns, there were other weapons. And so that was the tool. We had to come up with rules like it's not really fair to shoot someone who doesn't have a gun. That might be a weird comparison, but even with these tools, you have to come up with some moral rules for it. So,
yeah, and that's kind of far away so is it safe to say now that because everybody is creating a hype that the likes when ChatGPT came out, that it's a little bit on the sentient side, but it looks like we're really far, far away from these machines to be sentient, right?
Yeah, and far, far away. I mean, even with artificial intelligence, accountability is a big thing. A self-driving car, if it would drive if you would drive into someone like this self-driving car, then who is responsible? I mean, you are the one driving the car, right? Not really. It's the artificial intelligence, but that has no sense of morality. So I think the responsibility is with the one who is using it. That is the one who is accountable for using the AI and the outcomes of the data.
Wow. And the right and wrong, right? There's just so many because, you added the cultural and moral aspect of it. I think they're all relative, and how we're going to solve it in the future in feeding data of AI would be very, very essential. And then I think one of my hope while we're developing this moving forward is really the legal aspect, the ethical aspect of it. I think there will be new jobs that's going to be created for this. There's going to be new departments in the government sector. I think there are more sectors that are opening up, but I think it's going to create new jobs to tackle these things. But I just hope these big techs or even the small techs are going to, alongside when they're developing this quite quickly, that they're going to put people there who's going to make themselves accountable and can keep up with the security of how everything is being built for us to also, as human beings, to feel safe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, having the right skills and expertise to sort of curate some of this is is actually incredibly difficult and would be quite a niche skill set. Just because, as we said, it's tailored to individuals, to cultures, to everything else. So, in some ways, we may not be able to put this thing, we may not be able to confine it in some ways, but hopefully by the time we develop something sufficiently complex, we'll have enough wrangle on it that, in the worst case scenario, you can manage to pull the plug and then try again.
True. Well, if that's something I've heard in this other podcast is what they said, like that might be a scary end. But if a machine would ever become conscious, like it would have a sense of self, it would never let us know, because we would be able to shut it down. So it would never say like, "Hey, can you please shut me?" Because I know you will shut me down if I say that if I'm self-aware. So it would never tell us. And if it would, well, that's still stupid.
But that's the thing, right? Because I think I could safely say I'm playing around the new chatbots, and I still find them as robots. I still find them as non-humans.
They're smart robots, and they might
pass
the Turing test. But like I tried to play 20 questions with ChatGPT. So I said, I'll think of something, you guess. That works. And then I asked it, like, I want to play 20 questions with you. Can you think of something like a subject or an animal? Then it would respond with, I'm thinking of a table. No, I want to play 20 questions with you. And it just doesn't understand the concept. If I ask it, it doesn't understand the context of the question. Like, I want to play a game with you. It's 20 questions. So you have to put something in your random memory. Do not tell me what it is. And maybe at ChatGPT 4, it might be working, but that's comforting in a way, because I'm asking it weird questions too, but it can't answer me, and I'm happy that it won't answer me that way. So that's comforting, because even if you say, for me, it's not a minus that it can't be all that we wanted it to be. And that's good. That's good. That means that there's conscience with people who are making it better, especially like OpenAI. It's highly funded, but it's still independent in its own way. So yeah, I find comfort in that I still feel that I'm talking to a robot. Yeah, definitely.
I actually think that shortcoming is just some scientist or engineer on the other side still scratching their head on how to get it to work.
And we know that. That's what I love. And the funny thing about chatbot as well, this is a stupid question, so please indulge me. How the hell did chatbot become famous in the past few months when we've had it for so long? I mean, Ray and I have been developing a lot for different clients, and that's what's good about a lot of online shopping that you do. Hi, how can I help you today? On the right bottom right side, there's always chatbot, but it blew up so much. What resonated with the mass market this time?
A lot of news articles, social media attention. Yeah, it became a brand at its own, ChatGPT, I guess. I mean, maybe in a few years we won't be saying we're Googling something, but we're ChatGPTing it. I don't know. I don't hope to.
No, please. Let not
cut this. Just cut this out.
Cut this out of the bag.
No, cut it out of the podcast before anyone picks it up. No, but it's one big difference in ChatGPT is that you can ask follow-up questions, and that chatbots usually do not allow that well. Like, did I help you? No. And you have to start your rephrasing what you said. And that's one thing I like about ChatGPT. I mean, I've been generating code with it, and then you just ask, I want that algorithm, and it shows you an algorithm. No, I want it in another programming language, and it translated. No, I want you can just add things to your previous questions, so there's a follow up. So it feels more like a human conversation than with other chatbots.
So historically, other chatbots were actually basically wired by humans, right? The AI in the chatbot was in the natural language processing in interpreting what a human was saying into words to be able to run through some decision trees on where the conversation was going.
Yep.
ChatGPT's significant innovation was tremendous amounts of data, use of newer models to try and generate coherent sentences that still took interesting turns, and was sufficient that it had a breadth of knowledge. You can go and query it on niche details about soil science, for example, and it will try to generate a coherent response. And its breadth of knowledge across many, many topics made it quite the, what's what I'm looking for, beginner expert. In that it can find definitions and provide responses to things, but it still gets things wrong. And that goes back to the issues with it being confidently incorrect. But it is very interesting as an output. Which is probably what helped blow it up.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Confidently incorrect. I'm taking note of that. Yeah. Okay. Let's have some fun. What are the common stupid opinions about AI that you've ever heard from everyday normal people? We're not making fun of people, but it's just a nice anecdotal thing for us to do.
I mean, at a naive level, the thought that it might be able to immediately take away jobs by, I don't know, generating all of the code required to do something it still needs someone to wrangle what it's doing and try to make the right kinds of judgments and so on. It's a tool. Whoever is driving it is ultimately responsible for its outputs and where it's going. There are tools today that, will just invoke ChatGPT based on a question that's been asked and then just run that code and see what happens. So there's a lot of interesting, fun experiments in that side of things.
It's quite good at it as well, but it's not for complex programs.
That's right. Well, you can get it to do complex things given the right kind of queries and contexts, and so long as you narrow the problem space.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
The assumption that it takes away what it is that, that we do in some ways is probably an exaggeration.
You could not use a prompt like, I'm starting my own bank, write me some safe software.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Can't you?
Challenges the status quo.
Try it.
Yeah, I would say what it does do is it challenges the status quo and how a lot of people do their work. And artists are at risk, right? Like, people spend painstaking hours and days and weeks developing art in their own style and so on, and machines will readily gobble that up and spit out variants of it. The question will be how do you then adopt AI into your workflow to push that forward? So, I mean, if the question is about stupid responses, I think overcoming that fear is probably the serious thing to do. And then working out how to sort of, adopt that into your ways of working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry about the swing.
Even that 20 questions that Jeroen is saying, I asked my international school teacher friends how they teach young minds, and they said it's the way they teach now is upside down. They ask a lot of they would give the students a prompt that this is the answer, but give me how I came to this conclusion. So now the 20 questions are coming from the young minds, not the other way around, like the way we were taught when we were kids. So that's really interesting input, and it does make sense. And the way it is, it looks like that's how AI is being built, if it's that responsible, I think. I mean, the narrow ones at least.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, I think one of the stupid reactions to AI is, "Hey, let's put a pause on this."
Yeah.
Winner! I love it.
Well, I had some colleagues saying like, yeah, but what if a complete report is written by ChatGPT, like an essay for that a student has to make? Well, I mean, we're going in some education is changing where teachers are becoming more like coaches So we want to get rid of the PowerPoint presentations of 3 hours, so we just say, okay, this is your assignment. And the part of the assignment is you have to find your own information.
Yes.
And then you just help them. If they have questions, you're not giving any answers, but you're steering them in the right direction. So have you looked at this? Have you tried that? What have you done? What is the point where you get stuck? So you're more like helping them to find the answers themselves. And that's really interesting. And maybe for artificial intelligence, a good start to become more aware of the misinformation there is.
The training.
Yeah. And I think because some of my colleagues are afraid, like, what if a student has become, the whole essay has been written by ChatGPT? Then my answer would be, well, if you have been coaching this student for over a half year, you should know if it's their own work, or so maybe it's somewhere I wouldn't say your fault, but you should also be aware of the journey a student is making in their learning process. It would be a different way of teaching.
That's true, because, I've been reading some of the answers to me by ChatGPT, and I could see it's like, oh, okay, it repeated that. It's not perfect, but you just needed to pay attention, because I'm a writer, right? So I could see it's like, okay, I could see that. Like, it's not even a human mistake. Nobody would make that kind of mistake, even if they're novice writer or whatever. I could see that it came from a generated text.
Yeah, and if it would be perfect, maybe that's a mistake as well. I mean, humans make mistakes, so
a lot, yes.
So a perfect text might be a sign of brilliance or
plagiarism.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, and do we actually really care? I mean, okay. Until now, or actually before, when I had to write an essay, I went to the library. I got some books. I got the information out of the books. I didn't come up with the information. I just got it out of the books. I made my own story of it, and I understood sort of what happened. Then there was Google. So I Googled the shit, so I didn't have to go to the library. And it's not something that I invented myself. Nobody did. It's somebody invented it. But then I'm just taking the information,
recreating it in your own understanding.
Exactly. So I think that will become more important. That how would you make students show you that they're understanding it? But just it never really was their own idea or their own invention. They always copied it. They copied it from Google. They copied it from books.
Inspired by.
It's exactly. So yeah, I think ChatGPT should be seen as some inspiring information and you hope it will connect to the knowledge you already have.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. I think these generative AIs are useful to explore ideas and try to help you explore something you haven't thought about just yet.
Exactly.
But ultimately, at least right now, the legwork lies with you. We currently make students pile through, reams of books, reports, whatever else it is. How much do you actually remember of reports you've written and things that you've studied? But somewhere along the way, humans are picking up the essence of understanding in that, and maybe morals of stories or whatever else it is. Currently, the machines can't produce that yet, but it has maybe even some idea of words that are related to other words for now. It'll be interesting to see where it goes, but for now, the essence of understanding is still something that we have. Hopefully we'll get there, but, slow and steady.
Yeah, I think if we would say that an artificial intelligence will be smarter than a human very soon, then we're really underestimate our own intelligence.
But that's another good thing. Underestimating our own intelligence means humility. That means it goes back to humans who are feeding and training all of these machines towards what direction that we're going to take them. So I think it's safe to say, in my own mind, it's safe to say, picking up from this conversation, is that everyday normal people should not really fear this. It's really more of watching it and monitoring it and making the people who are making it accountable to where it's going at the end of the day. So having said that, I'm asking you both, what wisdom did you pick up from this conversation relating to artificial intelligence?
Oh, wow. I didn't see that question.
I mean, you're already in tech, but at the end of it, like, what did you pick up from this?
Well, for me, it's interesting that you and Ray sort of like we share the same ideas, and so I had some interesting samples and that confirm my bias when it comes to AI.
Mm. And Ray,
I think the problem that we have is that the ethical dilemmas are still unresolved, and there's actually no horizon where we see that being solved anytime soon.
Yeah,
it's far off in the future. 6 months won't do it. In fact, people have been working on AI ethics and explainability for years, and it's still not been resolved today. So,
yeah,
I mean, even from this conversation, it's clearly that a lot of more work needs to be done. But the problem is, like, what kind of mechanisms will be put in place to be able to drive effort towards this? Otherwise, without public sentiment or consensus or any kind of drive, it's just not going to happen.
Okay, I love that.
So maybe that should be the latter, not stopping the development, but starting a bigger development on the ethics of using AI and developing AI. Yeah.
Yeah, but it still irks me that this is not set as part of the package by the big tech. The fuck?
Well, yeah.
It's a problem of priorities, and I mean, ultimately, you know, companies answer to their boards and management and everything else. And unless it's actually something that results in negative public sentiment or some other external drive that corporations will align to, it's unlikely that people will put much more thought or effort towards it. But eventually, if there's enough or a big enough fallout or some other catastrophe, maybe things will change. But in the current course, it's going to be quite difficult to get these companies to be accountable.
Well, how about that pause, right? I mean, it's such a big excuse. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything good to say about big people requesting for a pause because they needed to keep up with checking it out. Like, what the hell?
They should allow the pause, but only for big companies. Like small developers, go ahead.
Yeah,
and
like,
big companies, no. But they would just start a new small company, split it up, whatever. I mean,
and whoever signed up there, you can pause.
Yeah, and who's gonna control the pause? You know, I mean, it's gonna be they're gonna go. I mean, there's no stopping it, and the public is not gonna see it anymore. They're not gonna go public with their new discoveries. So that's the only thing that you're gaining from it. So
true. If they're gonna pause it, there are a few. Not companies. There are a few organizations like IEEE's Ethically Aligned Design Framework or the Partnership on AI. So they have set of ethical principles. So if they're going to pause and these organizations will take on it, that's a huge, huge job. And 6 months is not going to cut it. Why can't it just be concurrent, right? Like, I don't know. There's something more to this story. Maybe Always. It's going to come out, right?
Yeah, let's hope so.
Oh, well, whatevs. In the end, it's whatevs.
Yeah, let's not start the conspiracy theories about AI.
No, we're not going to get into that. Anyway, okay. So let's still be on facts. In closing, what are the 3 main words that you picked up in this conversation?
Well, ethics, definitely big part of things. Trust or the critical thinking, like don't believe everything you hear in the media, and definitely don't believe everything ChatGPT says or any other artificial intelligence, because it's still not, because intelligence is not a skill itself. It's the efficiency of learning being able to learn new things. So don't be too afraid, and it's just a machine.
Yeah.
I want to say something around cat out of bag. It's the nature of human progress and development, right? Like, we're moving forward and new things, new technologies are coming out day by day. So it's going to be challenging. And I start wondering about, well, what's it going to be like a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now? And the only thing that sort of, the only constant is change. And our ability to adapt to change is currently second to none. So keep being humans. That's kind of what it comes down to, right? We can adapt, we can adopt, and we can use these tools to our advantage. The question is whether or not we use it in positive or negative ways. And, well, we're in control of that. So we just need to drive in a particular direction.
Totally. For me, it's really the truth, challenge, and adapting. And at the end of the day, there's always a human factor to all of these things that we're creating. At the end of the day, it's humans who will be held accountable for all of these things, not the machines. It's us, how we create this world and how we created the world. Because if you look back 10 years ago versus now, there are so many things that developed, and for the good and for the bad. And sometimes what's bad that I see may be good for other people, like TikTok or something. But so it's still the human factor.
About that. Have you seen the court in America about they want to ban TikTok? Like what? Like Facebook is any better or
I don't know.
Anyways,
man. I mean, that's politics. Politics versus technology too. Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's a lot of politics. I mean, but something interesting that there's this futurist Ray Kurzweil. It's a Ray, and he said by 2040, non-biological intelligence will be 1 billion times more capable than biological intelligence, aka the human race.
Okay. But it's still coming from humans.
Exactly. And then he has another prediction, which is interesting. He said by 2045, we will multiply our intelligence billionfold by linking wirelessly from our neocortex to a synthetic neocortex in the cloud.
Oh, all I care about is that in the near future, at least in the next 50 years, that we can defy physical aging. Because I want to live a little bit longer.
Yeah. Well, that's on a whole different podcast.
I know.
Yeah. They're working on it. They've had some rats living longer than expected. So might be testing on humans soon.
Yes. So any final words?
Try the moral machine if you think morality in AI will be easy, and don't be afraid.
Yes. Afraid, be not.
Be not. Just enjoy new technology. It will come. New technologies will exist. They will develop. That's what we do.
Yes. I have been meaning to work on neuroscience, so that could be pretty interesting.
Oh wow, yeah.
The thought about, moving forward and adapting to change, I think is essential, right? Like, driving forward and making progress and trying to drive towards that bigger, brighter future is something that hopefully everyone's sort of striving towards. That might be a day at a time and just trying to make ends meet, or that might be planning ahead decades so that you can have the anti-aging technologies to live just that little bit longer. I would say that there are many billionaires currently looking at that kind of technology and wondering how they could make that work. So maybe that'll work in your favor, their wish.
Yes.
But optimistically, as a species, you would hope for a bigger, better, brighter future, not so much the dystopian stuff.
That's true. And also, last thing is upskill, carve a niche and think about the future of work. It's not about fearing that they're going to take away your job soon. It's more of what else you can upskill for yourself because it will come in the future. For example, let's say atmospheric civil engineering, like carving the highways up above, for flying cars, or as simple as, content moderating, data feeder for the future of chatbots. There are so many things that you can think of. They may sound crazy, but think ahead if you wanted to have, to carve out new jobs in the future. Or, right?
Like in like, I don't know, in the year 1000, no one would ever think a desk job was a thing. I mean, what are you going to do the whole day? Sit behind a desk? I mean, you need to plow a land, or I don't know, take care of the horses.
I still plow a land.
Or fight, like be a warrior or something. Catch food. So things change. And a desk job is something...
thing of the past. No,
not sure.
Techies are still doing that. It's literally
it's not
a thing
of the past, but yeah. It's not a thing of the past, but it's just something. Some jobs
you're gonna have a future as a you have a future sitting on a desk again.
Wow, awesome.
Right? Come on, what's your new job?
I'm going to be a back-end web developer. So I'm going going back to technology. So hopefully improve some of the search engine part within our company.
Yeah, congratulations. So see, that's a desk job, but but the definition of a desk job right now is different, right? It's just really working on a desk.
I'm going to be using a lot of ChatGPT and artificial intelligence for sure.
Then we can talk about it some other time, some more. Like probably 2 years from now, we have to review this, the three of us. Don't you think?
I wanna automate my complete job.
Yes, autocorrect, autocomplete your job.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't tell anyone. No.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The cat's out of the bag, Jeroen.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with me and everybody else who's listening. Thank you very, very much for your time. This is such a very productive, very wonderful conversation. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you as well for hosting. Thanks, Ray, for your insights.
Thank you both very much.
Some important words relating to artificial intelligence are ethics, forward, and humans. As one of our guests, Ray, said, "Keep being humans," end quote. While Jeroen said, "Don't be afraid, it's just a machine," end quote. Also, I would like to apply another quote from a character, HAL 9000, from the 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey. "I know everything hasn't been quite right with me, but I can assure you now, very confidently, that it's going to be all right again." We all have our own fears, conclusions, and expectations about every single element that comes to us as change or evolution of our lives or even the society. AI has been around for 60 years and the pace of change will never ever slow down. All that matters is our humanity, the values and morals that we keep to drive positive change rather than any nefarious means. Well, I hope so. Whatever your opinions are about the subject, it's always good to be a part of the conversation to keep all of us in check. This world has to be always open to that. Thank you for listening to Human Thesaurus. Please help me rate and subscribe because your support means a great deal. Join me again next week for another episode. And while waiting, why not listen to my past few episodes? You may find one of them compulsive. I'm your host, Whiz Peacock. Have a fantastic day and thanks for listening.